Chapter 3, Rear Derailleur Cable Tension. Once we've got the limit screws on the rear derailleur set correctly, we can start a discussion about cable tension. We will discuss cable tension as opposed to limit screws, coarse and fine adjustments of cable tension, removing excess cable slack, and use of barrel adjusters. And for the sake of clarity, we'll talk about cable tension initially, just showing the hub with gears on it and no chain on the bike. Once I have my limit screws set correctly, then everything to do with shifting between the outer cog and the inner cog has only to do with cable tension. Okay, now that I've got my high limit screw adjusted correctly, let's see what happens if I try to shift the bike. So I'm up here at the front shifter and I'm going to shift the bike one gear, click, nothing happened. Click, nothing happened. For some reason, even though now the derailleur is starting to move, but it didn't move on the first click. Here is the cable, the other end of which is attached to the shifter, and I have two adjustments for the cable tension. This one is a binder bolt that ties off the cable, and you can think of this as your coarse adjustment of cable tension. Here I have a fine adjustment in the form of a barrel adjuster. The reason the bike didn't shift when I clicked the shifter is because I have so much slack in the rear derailleur cable that the first couple of clicks were just wasted winding up cable to take out some of this slack and didn't result in the derailleur actually moving. So I'm going to have to take some of the slack out of this cable. Because there's so much slack, I don't think I can tighten up the cable sufficiently with my fine adjustment in my adjusting barrel, so I'm going to open this binder bolt here and just pull some of the slack out like this. Now it may not seem like the cable is taut here, it probably isn't, but I will have removed enough of the slack that I can now adjust the rear derailleur with the adjusting barrel. Okay, having tightened up my coarse adjustment a little bit on the cable, let's see what happens if I go up to the front and I shift it one click. It moved a little bit, but the guide pulley did not move far enough to shift the bike into the second cog. Once again, that is not a limit screw issue, it's a cable tension issue, and I'm going to use my fine adjustment, which is my barrel adjuster here, as I add tension to the cable. You can see that the guide pulley is now moving over until it aligns exactly under the second cog. So I've got my high limit screw and now my cable tension adjusted correctly, so I can shift back and forth between the highest gear and the next highest. Outer cog, next inner one, outer, inner, outer, and so on. In fact, I've done more than that because I've now got it indexed, so it's going to click all the way across and back. So I've got a cassette with 10 gears, and all 10 gears are now accessible. My derailleur is adjusted correctly so that as I shift from gear to gear, the guide pulley moves under the correct cog.